Okay guys, this is a 25-inch monitor that I was going to use for this MAME cabinet, and I'm going to have to modify the brackets that are on the side. This monitor is barely going to fit in this cabinet, and I apologize if the lighting's poor in here. I've got all the windows shut, and the light above me actually has a bulb burnout in it. But anyway, this bracket here on the side, this was made to go in a Street Fighter cabinet. That's what this monitor came out of, was a Street Fighter. I bought it from a guy, and probably about a city away. And the monitor looks really great. It's got an old Wells Gardner K7000 series chassis in it, and it has the adjustments here on the back. I don't really like that. I mean, it's okay, but I have another Wells Gardner K7000 series chassis that originally came out of the Mortal Kombat 1, and I've recapped it and everything, and it could switch right into here, and it does have a remote board to control all of your horizontal controls, your vertical controls, your brightness, your contrast, all that stuff, and it would take the place of that. And I'm thinking about swapping it into this one, but this right here is the one that originally came in here, and even though it's kind of old, it still has diagrams there for this chassis, and I mean, that's kind of nice to have. And I know you can't hardly see it, it's not much light, I'm blocking it, but if I use these brackets, I'm still going to have to modify. I'm going to have to cut some of these tabs off the sides. So you can see there I've been bending on this tab. I was just trying to see how strong the metal was, and I was thinking about just taking a hammer and just beating it flat against that. And I mean, that would be functional, but it would be ugly. And I'm a little bit picky. I'm not incredibly picky, but I would rather cut that off. And I don't think I need anybody to cut it off with any kind of a torch or anything like that. But I think I've got a blade that'll fit my circular saw, and it's made for cutting metal. Either that, or I have a Sawzall, reciprocating saw, and I have some demolition blades for it. And I've heard that those things could cut somebody out of a car possibly. But I've used those in the past, and I used them for taking screws out of my log home because I was replacing a section of log, and those screws were tempered, and it was actually eating up the blades. But I believe it would go through something like this, probably like butter. But the big thing about the Sawzall is keeping a good straight cut and not getting it all over the place. The circular saw, I think I could handle that a little better, and once I got it started, I think I could keep a straighter cut. But anyway, I'm going to cut that tab or flange off of that part there, and then on the bottom part of the monitor, it's got one that extends across there. And if I could cut that off, then the platform that holds the chassis could remain in place, and it could still hold the chassis on. And then I could use the large metal brackets on each side and just either use some of the holes that are there or make me some new holes and mount it to some wood inside the cabinet. The dimensions across here is about 23 and I'd say almost a 1/4 inch, and the width of the cabinet is exactly 24 inches. So I mean, I could just use a little bit of washers and bolt it into the sides of the cabinet, or I could just build a platform like I had said in one of my previous videos, and the platform could sit in there, and this platform here that the chassis is on could just sit on it and just bolt down to it. And since it's connected to the brackets, I believe that would hold the weight of the monitor okay. But anyway, I want to take these side pieces off and take the chassis loose and just kind of push this to the side, put it somewhere safe for a while, and maybe go outside and see if I can cut these off of here using the metal cutting blade for my circular saw. And it's about like something that you would find in a grinder. They sell cutting blades for grinders, cutting discs, and it's something like that, but it's made, I think it's about 6.5 inch, and my circular saw is not a 7 1/4, it's a 6.5 inch disc that will fit on there. So that's what I have, and I'm going to try it, and maybe I'll film some of that. It's sure to be a show of sparks. Hopefully I won't catch anything on fire because there's a lot of leaves outside. Okay, well, I got the board loose from the middle of the supports on each side of the tube, and there's the chassis. We got the chassis loose. Had to take the neck board loose, and the anode cap, and a ground wire for the power lead was hooked to one of the side mounting brackets, and had to take the yoke wire harness loose, and the decals connection, and also had to disconnect a ground wire from the neck board, and it had already been spliced, so I just had to take loose some tape and disconnect those wires temporarily. I may connect a brand new one back and resolder it permanently whenever we get this hooked back up. That is, if I use this chassis. If not, then I'll just use the other K7000 series that has the remote board. But it looks like a pretty good chassis. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. I'd like to take it loose and look at the underside, see if it's ever had any work done on it. May have had some new caps put on. I noticed there's some baby blue caps and some black caps on there. Those baby blue ones are probably some new ones where somebody put a cap kit in, but I'm surprised the smaller black ones weren't replaced. But probably had some caps done on it. Don't know about the flyback or anything, but I'll take a look at the bottom of the board one day. But right now, maybe want to see about getting this outside and seeing if I can take these brackets loose real quick. They got a bolt and some type of nut on the back, some type of square nut there on the back of each one. Take those loose, and there's one on each corner. That's my phone going off. But get those brackets off the side of there, and we just want to take the brackets outside and see if we can cut those flanges off. It'll be the bottom flange there, and the one on the side there, and there's one on each side. So if we can do that and just end up with just a flat piece of metal here that will mount back to the tube and to the chassis board, then we'll be able to fit this into this arcade cabinet here. Okay, well, there's the tube. It's pretty bare. It's got the yoke on it and the degaussing coil and everything. Pretty much everything else is removed from it. There's our brackets that we wanted to take off. Get rid of these flanges here. Just make the overall dimensions of the monitor a little smaller so it can squeeze into that cabinet. And I'm thinking what I might do, instead of trying this myself and getting out there and making a bunch of sparks and everything, I think I might take these to work with me. And we've got a shop where the guys have lots of large tools and welders and everything like that, and maybe I can get them to cut those off of there for me. Maybe they got something real precise, some type of cutting torch or something like that, and maybe they can cut those off, or maybe they've got a saw that can do it and make a better cut than me. And I'll see if those guys will do that for free for me, and that way I won't have to mess with it, and won't possibly make a bad cut or something like that, and just be a little easier on me. Okay guys, I'm back here. This is the following day, and I did take these brackets that came off the monitor to work, and I was able to get a guy in the shop to cut off those flanges for me. So like, here's where one across the bottom used to be. You see now it looks like it never was there. He did a good job cutting that off, and I think he even grounded a little bit smooth for me. Now on this side, this one I had bent the flange a little bit, trying to see how easy it was to bend. He had a little bit more trouble cutting that, just the way I guess the blade on the saw was. It's not a perfectly straight line, but I don't care, because once it's mounted in there, you're never going to see it. And this one, it looks really even better. Just about a perfect straight line. I'm pretty sure he free-handed it, but I think he did a pretty good job. He got the flange off that one and off the front part right there, and that one's almost perfectly straight line. But this is going to make it a lot easier on the main cab here. No, we don't have great light, but let's see if I can hold this in position. When this gets mounted, it's going to be holding the tube in at the corners there, and it's going to be mounted against this plywood. Now there may be a very slight, maybe ½ or ¼ inch between the bracket and the side of the cabinet, so I'm not positive yet if we're going to bolt directly to it or have some type of a buffer area there that's made up of another sandwich piece of wood, or if, like I said at one time, I want to rebuild those two supports right there. There's one there and one there, and just instead of angling down towards the front, they're going to angle up towards the front. And maybe the base of the monitor, since it does have a piece of wood that the chassis is mounted on and it connects in with these brackets, I think it can hold the weight of the monitor fine. Maybe I'll just build a platform like that and let it angle up, and we'll set the entire monitor on it and bolt it down to that, so it may not be connected to the sides at all. But it just depends on how everything turns out as I, start progressing a little bit more. But that's a big hurdle for me because that was worrying me a lot. I was trying to figure out how I was going to mount that thing, and getting those flanges off of these brackets, that was just a big help. But guy I know from work, I've worked with him about 20 years, named Johnny. He did that for me today, and shoot, didn't take him about 15 minutes from grabbing them from me and going out to the shop, cutting them and bringing them back to me.